All right, welcome back to the Run.down post-game show here on the Strickland YouTube channel. And if you're listening to this the day after the Strickland Podcast Network, I am Sam. I am joined by Schwinn and Khan from Strictly NFL. Knicks win in a blowout versus the Spurs in Wemby's Garden debut. 126 to 105. And I feel like that final score doesn't tell the full story of this game. And we'll get into all of that as we always do. Before I get started, though, the last of the major pro sports leagues kicks off this week, and BetOnline is your top spot for all your NBA action this season. With MLB postseason, NFL, and college football and NHL in full swing, BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions. Get everything NBA at your fingertips with both desktop and mobile access for every sport, anytime. Head to the BetOnline app today to get in on the action. Don't forget to use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. Yeah, so the Knicks win in a blowout versus this very young Spurs team. I think they're the youngest team in the league. It definitely showed in different areas of this game. Their resilience to try to make that comeback, their early mistakes are often in the game. Just it was a really good win for the Knicks. I struggle to sort of, I guess, I don't know how to say this. I struggle to I guess take these games as seriously in the progress of this early season formation of this team to really, what am I trying to say?
I don't know, Sam, but I'm really happy that you teach America's youth.
No, what I'm trying to say is when we play these teams and we have these blowouts, it's hard for me to really take them as seriously as I want to.
It's hard for you to lock in.
Yeah, and it's also hard for me to lock in, but it's also hard for me to really take it as seriously as I want to be okay, this was good progress from such and such from this player. I mean, we pretty much have seen the Knicks bench start to really come into its own these last couple of games. I feel like last game was a better example of this just based on the opponent that we played. A more established Clippers team has more veterans, more star players, as opposed to this young Spurs team, which a lot of teams have either beat up on or just have had their way. Like Toronto came back 20 points against them just a couple days ago. So it's just weird to conceptualize what went well for the Knicks in this game. I mean, obviously RJ Barrett played well. Manuel quickly played well. Mitch Robinson continues to be dominant inside. Hartenstein continues to play well as well. The Knicks bench is starting to come into their own. We'll get into all those as we will. Jalen Brunson struggled early on, I would say, or at least the shot wasn't falling as much as it should have. But things start to come around later on in the game. But the game was already far out of reach. But yeah, I mean, what did you guys think of this game? And Khan, I guess we'll start with you since you're first time on this post-game show.
Okay. Yeah, since the white guy's here, we got to give him the
the proper
all right.
All right. I can't win tonight.
Schwinn, you want to go?
No. Go ahead.
All right, so I thought I'm just gonna start with Julius because he's the biggest talking point you really have. Sam, I hope you enjoy that bagel. I thought it was a totally fine Julius game, honestly. I tweeted at half that I didn't think anybody really was playing below average. I thought everybody's playing pretty decent. And the comments were Brunson's missing shots, Randall is not giving full effort, and I was like, all right, well, Brunson's not going to make every shot he takes, and he just dropped 45 points. And then Randall is giving you more than he has pretty much every other game. So I took it for what it was. I was happy Randall didn't deter us. I thought he was actually really good on offense today. So yeah, I'm just happy. I'm totally fine with what Randall gave us today.
Yeah, I thought Randall was fine. I think his decision making definitely better than it's been in a lot of cases early on this season. I really like that Mitch pick and roll that they're running now.
Yeah,
that's been pretty good. I think teams will start maybe trying to trap that. We'll see what happens. But like either way, it's just a nice little wrinkle. And it was good to see him in the second half. Shoot like he took 1-3. There was 1-3 he took that he hesitated on, and then he took it and he missed it. Kind of put his hand up afterward. But then when he got that one from the corner from quickly, he immediately pulled the trigger, and that was a great. I mean, he's absolutely drilled that.
Are you referencing the one to like kind of just put the
Ice the
game
game?
away?
Yeah, it iced the game.
Yeah.
And I still, man, some of the defense stuff today was not great. He lost track of Doug McDermott multiple times. He lost track of Keldon Johnson multiple times late in the game. It didn't burn them because Keldon was like shitting himself today or something.
As most of the were.
Yeah, he was fucking awful today. And it's fine. It was the Spurs, so it didn't really matter. But like, it's just something to keep an eye on. Like his defense has been better this year. I did not like it today. I think this was up there with that second Cavs game when he was like playing like he was fucking Rocky Balboa after the 13th round or some shit. But like, yeah, he had a good offensive game. And I think the main takeaway, I don't want to harp too much on like the defensive stuff that I didn't like, but the main takeaway for me was I don't think he's all the way back physically yet. Like he doesn't necessarily dislodge guys on his drives like he does when he's totally feeling it. But he's closer. He's moving better. I think he's moving more decisively. And yeah, I was pleased with his game, although I still don't think like this was a decent game for Julius. We still have not had a like
explosive Julius.
Yeah, oh my god, Julius just fucking destroyed this team game. That's what I'm waiting for. I know it's going to happen. Honestly, we didn't get that from Brunson today either. I know that line ends up looking good. Because he goes 5 of 8 from 3, but I didn't particularly. I felt like that. I just think he looks a lot better in the box score than he actually was. His defense was good today, and his defense has been good really all year, so he deserves credit for that. I do want to say you mentioned Julius. I mean, at some point, Mitchell Robinson just needs to get way more credit than he does from non-Knicks fans because that today,
everybody,
that was a fucking merciless beatdown of Victor Wembanyama. Absolutely destroyed him from beginning to end. Victor did not want to shoot over him. He couldn't shoot over him. He couldn't back him down. He couldn't get a rebound over him. He couldn't lay the fucking ball in over him. He did nothing today when he was matched up on Mitch. I would venture to guess all of his points came against not Mitch. I would probably bet that right now. He did not have a good game. He didn't have much of an impact even defensively. The Knicks RJ made 2 threes over him. Brunson made 2 threes or a 3 over him. I'm not saying like, Victor sucks and that was a terrible performance, but I really felt like Mitch took his fucking soul early in that game and he had no confidence at all. He scored a bunch in one effectively when like the game was more or less
garbage time.
Yeah, extended garbage time. But yeah, I just think Mitchell Robinson tonight. Look, it's 8 games in the season, so we'll see. But he needs to be up in Defensive Player of the Year conversations at some point if he keeps this up. And the last thing I'll say is RJ Barrett tonight. Just want to bring this up. Let me pull this up. 8 of 17 from the field, 5 of 9 from 3, 6 assists, 2 rebounds. He was really good, and I thought he played a really mature game. I thought his passing was good. He had some, look, you're not going to play a perfect game. He had a couple of shots you wouldn't necessarily want him to take. He made a couple of them, so okay. But like, I think you're just seeing a guy that's so much more in control. And I was talking to DJ over from Knicks Film School about this, but like, it's just nice having him and Quickly right now with Brunson and Randall not totally firing because they're able to like just give you stretches of they're just scoring and
they're able to be a nice buffer for them.
Yeah, they're giving you more leeway for Brunson and Randall to kind of totally get their shit figured out. But like, yeah, RJ was really. I mean, he's just stacking up good games. That's it. He's just stacking up good games right now. It's all you want to see from him. And yeah, I mean, look, I think everybody played well, really, aside from Hart and DiVincenzo. I don't think either of them had much juice today. But rest of the team was, I mean, you got pretty much solid performances from the other 7 guys.
Yeah,
and that's all you need against a team like the Spurs. And like you said, quickly RJ, they provide that nice buffer for Randall and Brunson. I also say just the bench unit in general, and I think RJ with that bench unit really did some nice things today. RJ had some really nice passes with Hartenstein in the pick and roll. I really like that wrinkle there. Hopefully we see more of that because like I think that's something that RJ was lacking in his game last year, and to see him add that this year will definitely take his game to that next level that we're seeing right now so far, and hopefully that continues throughout the rest of the season. But it is very encouraging because like we've said in previous post games, RJ has not had the best starts to season. Quickly has not has the best starts to season. So to see both of them firing on pretty much all cylinders to start the year is increasingly encouraging, and it just shows the maturity of these guys' games. And I think definitely you're seeing that the FIBA games definitely helped RJ out a ton, which we all speculated what would happen.
Yeah, like I actually, why the fuck is OKC giving the ball to Jalen Williams in crunch time? Get the fuck out of my face. But like I don't know. I did not. I just assumed he wouldn't get off to a good start because like he just has not historically gotten off. I mean, the last 3 years he's gotten off to bad starts before he kind of finds a rhythm. So even though he played in FIBA, I wasn't totally sure. I didn't think he had like a bad preseason, but I wasn't like, oh, he's fucking totally ready to go. Which is kind of why, look, at this point, I think we should all just accept preseason doesn't matter, which is why I don't watch any preseason other than the Knicks.
Jordan Poole dropped 41 and is turned into a literal walking garbage can.
Well,
it also doesn't matter in any sport ever.
Yeah, it matters as far as just like getting some game reps and not getting injured. That's about it.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I just think he's gotten up to such a good start. And yeah, you mentioned the FIBA thing. That's part of it. His body, like, look, we talked about this a bunch last year. Like, he was not moving well through the season. He just looked slow. And then in the playoffs, he looked better. And so you were like, I don't know. I really wonder if like he was nursing some injury that we just didn't know about for most of the season last year, because seeing the way he moved in the playoffs and now seeing how he's moving is like, it just makes you think like, what the fuck was going on? So, yeah, I again, great stuff from RJ tonight. Really good stuff from Mitch. Really good stuff from Randall, Brunson, quickly, Hartenstein. Hartenstein made a fuck. Did you guys see that move in the first half? He did a jump step.
The hop step, yeah.
That was like, what the fuck is this? That was crazy. I could not believe that. That was on Wemby too. It was like a jump step, and then he did a little like left hand floater. It was, I mean, that's the best move I've ever seen from him. But yeah, Mitch was, again, I just think he was so. I mean, think about it. All that was being talked about for the game is Wemby this, who's going to defend Wemby, how are they going to do it? And, I felt like pretty strongly that it should just be Mitch on him. And I'm happy he got the opportunity. I think he deserved the opportunity. And we were up, 15 in like the first 6 minutes of the game. The game was over. It was done. And yeah, that was a dominant performance against a bad team. Knicks took care of business. They got a nice 3 days off now, and then they get to play the Hornets on Sunday at noon.
I think this was like the most dominant 0 steals, 0 blocks performance I've ever seen from like a player on the Knicks, from Mitch Robb. Like what he did today, there isn't much like to say about it, right? Like not only did he clamp Wemby, but like he clamped not only the paint either, but he shut down multiple actions the Spurs tried to run. They took stuff out of there. They stopped calling certain actions because they just couldn't get it going on Mitch. And I want to bring this up from one of my good friends, Lewis. IQ shooting 60% on 2-pointers this season, whereas compared to the last 2 years, he's shot 47%. So,
well, yeah, I mean, last year he jumped to 52, and that was like a really impressive jump. And for him to take it to this level is pretty wild. And it's like, he ends up with 19 on 17 shots, but like, look, he was 3 and 9 from 3. If you told me 2 years ago he could score 19 on 17 shots and only make 3 threes, I'd have been like, oh, he must have gotten to the line like 10 times or something. He didn't. He didn't even get to the line once today, I don't think. He probably deserved to. I think he got fouled on a 3 in the fourth quarter. But like, either way, just, yeah, like the growth you're seeing from him, is great. The growth you're seeing from RJ is great. Like, it's not even just a 3-point shooting. It's the defense again tonight with him was like he
I
started
mean,
off the
this is
game.
the fastest he's ever read the game.
Yeah. I mean, he made
There's
that pass.
nothing even close.
He had a pass in the fourth quarter where he hit Randall on the trailer. That like he had other options on that play too. There were so many options basically. Like he could have hit quickly for a 3 or Mitch for a lob, but it was just it was like the one pass I did not see. You know what I mean? Like I did not see that pass, and it was just so impressive for him to see it when he had, at least what it looked like 3 or 4 options that were clearly better.
Yeah. Sorry, we're gonna go Sam or?
I just wanted to read this off real quick. This is from
Sure.
Larry Israel. You expect Brunson to be able to stay cool when Sohan tries to get in his head, but I was super impressed the way RJ refused to even acknowledge Sohan being a cheap shot artist. Yeah, like the thing is, Sohan's one of those guys that I think is keenly aware of like when his team is just not competitive, they're not competing, they're not giving like their effort, and he was trying to get something going in that game, and I agree with you. Like RJ, I mean, I'm not actually that surprised about it, but I agree that RJ didn't take the bait. Like he's not the one to try with that stuff because I just think he's so even keeled and calm all the time. Say whatever you want about when he struggled or whatever, you would never know it by just looking at him, how he carries himself. He's always the same. He's always constant. If you're gonna try that on somebody on the Knicks, it's obviously fucking Randall, dude. Like you don't try that on Julius.
I'm surprised he didn't try to start anything with Randall.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? But like, yeah, it was just. I agree. I think it was impressive, not unexpected, but it was impressive, and it's, it just shows you something about him as a player. Like it just shows you, and then you see how he played the rest of the game. Really, really impressed with his performance tonight. And again, I gotta say, because I was super critical about it last year, like his defense so far this year has been so solid. And when it is that solid, it just opens up so many possibilities. Also, final fucking thing I'm gonna say. We've all been rightfully like, man, I don't like Hart closing over IQ. I don't really like the minutes, blah, blah, blah. I think we have some evidence from tonight that what we can agree or disagree with the choices, but it is rooted in some logic and that oh my God, Alex Caruso just banked in a 3. Fuck off. But like it is rooted in some logic, and that logic is that he wanted Hart on the floor, I think, for those wing matchups in the last couple of games, right? You can agree or disagree with that. That's what it was. He wanted quickly on the floor tonight because who kept getting wide open and making annoying threes? Doug McDermott, awesome off-ball mover, constantly moving. Like he's just constantly there. He got open so many times for 3 today. Honestly, he went 3 of 8. If he went 5 or 6 of 8, it wouldn't have been unsurprising given the shots he was getting. But he left quickly in the game because that's his best off-ball defender. That's the guy that's the best at chasing guys off screens and shit like that. That's why he closed. That's why he played the most minutes today out of Hart, out of DiVincenzo, out of Grimes. Like, that's why I played the most. So again, I'm not saying you need to agree with it, but I do think that there are real logical reasons for why he's choosing to do the things he does in this moment in time. But so yeah, I just wanted to give
matchup based.
Yeah, I think it's matchup based. And honestly, I thought they were really well kind of schooled up on Wemby. Julius took his fucking shit as soon as he spinned it that one time. He came from behind, stole that. RJ almost got him on one. Quickly did get him on one. Like they were definitely very well prepared for Wembanyama. And again, if we're gonna sit here and criticize Tibbs for rotations and all that shit half the time, I think he deserves credit for when he gets things right.
Did we talk about this? But tell me if we did or not. The 9-man rotation we usually play, right? The starters and the 4 bench guys had 2 total turnovers. Like that's ridiculous. I don't know if we touched on that or not, but
no, we haven't. But I mean, yeah, that's pretty good. Especially, versus a young team, it should be pretty easy, I think, to not turn over the ball just because like they are way more inexperienced than we are in this case. And we saw that in full display tonight.
Absolutely agree with this, Larry. Tibbs scheme against one people with a book on this kid for weeks. Yeah, Tibbs and like and to the point, like yes, Tibbs' scheme was awesome, but not every team has a Mitch.
Yeah, they don't have the personnel.
Yeah, so that was but I totally agree. Tibbs completely had this team 100% prepared for Wembanyama. Like I don't think it's a surprise that they played much better with Wembanyama off the floor tonight.
Yeah, what you call it? Let's get into quickly. Our favorite player here at the Quicklin. Shout out to Schwinn Sweater. Make sure you guys get a sweater. Link in the description.
Yes. And because we called, we made a Quicklin sweatshirt and we like Emmanuel Quickly, that actually means that we hate everybody else in the team.
Yeah, screw everybody else.
Yeah, we hate everybody else. We root against them, and that's what that is.
But here we got this comment by Jack Coogan. Says Quickly's mid range is awesome now. You could tell it was coming on last year, but this season is truly a consistent part of his scoring arsenal. Yeah, I just wanted to point out Quickly was able to score in such a variety of ways. It is like such a stark difference from where he came into the league, where it was just like, all right, if Quickly's not shooting a 3 or a floater, I don't know how he's getting the basket. And now it's just like he has all these different ways. He has all these different like maneuvers in the paint, all these different euros, all these different spins. Do we think that, since Brunson has come, I think like Quickly's footwork has improved
Yes,
a
absolutely.
lot. Do we think that is like part of the improvement? That working with someone like Brunson, playing against someone like that in practices every day, you start to pick up on those things, as well as just the general improvement and the hard work of someone like Emmanuel Quickly. I think that combination of those two things just melded into the player that we're getting right now.
I'll let Con go. I talked for like 7,000 hours. So
No, you're good. I mean, obviously that's gonna have some effect, right? Like, not only are you playing with him, you guys play the same position, right? So you're gonna be constantly picking each other's brains and all that stuff. I think the biggest thing for him in the mid range is that it was kind of something he resorted to in a lot of ways, right? Like if he couldn't get that pull up three off of a screen, or if he couldn't kind of slither into the paint for a floater, he kind of just pulled it back out, reset everything, yada yada. Now it's like, all right, guys on my right hip, I'm just gonna step to the left, do a little side step and put the shot up. It's gonna be cash. So the confidence is it's always at a fever pitch with Quick. Like that's not something to worry about, but the just I mean, I don't want to say confidence again, but he's just reliable now, right? In the mid range, like you see him go into different moves every game too. It's not just one move that he's kind of spamming to kind of get shots off.
He's also just like really patient too. There was this one play where he was like dribbling and then he's waiting for someone to cut, and I forgot what happened after that. That whoever, I think it was RJ that had cut, and RJ. Oh my god! And then RJ I think got a floater out of that. RJ got a floater out of that. But yeah, just you're seeing overall patience from Quickly that we just didn't see before. And it's just a testament to the improvement and the maturity of these guys' game. That goes back to what we were saying about RJ and Mitch too. So
well, the big thing with Quick is like, what is he even shooting right now from three this year? Is it like 32% or something? Like
it's not great.
Yeah, it's not great. But like he has such a more stable floor now as a scorer because he has all these options for himself inside the arc. He's got a mid range. He's got, the floater. He's always going to have the floater, obviously. He has just so much variety now in his offense. He had that left-hand take today at the rim. That was like
nasty.
That was really, really nice. I mean, that's not something that he's flashed consistently before. I mean, and to be fair, he hasn't flashed it consistently yet. But the fact that he showed that is just like, man, if that's a thing for him, it's going to open up even more. So I think right now he's still kind of, this is what I've thought this every year with him in the league, where it's like, obviously as a rookie, it is what it is. You just come in and do your thing. But like the next year he comes in, he's add a little bit more to his game. And then like, he's trying to figure out, how do I balance that with my core game is kind of like a 3-point gunner. And then last year he adds a little bit more, and he takes a little time to recalibrate how to make it all work. And I actually think right now he is recalibrating a little bit, like because he's added more to his game, because he is stronger for sure. And I'm just saying, like, if this is his kind of general effectiveness inside of the arc, he's going to go on a heater from three at some point, and all of a sudden you're going to see his true shooting percentage, and it's going to be like, fucking 63% or something. And RJ is obviously, I think, what is he at 60.4 or something like that after tonight. So like, I mean, look, I think Quickly has a better chance of being more efficient than RJ just because I think he's a better 3-point shooter. But like that really doesn't matter. They're both going to be more efficient. And RJ does it on higher volume. So like it is more meaningful in that sense. And he's also doing it against the starters, right? Like that was one of the biggest reasons why he was so frustrating last year. So like if this is what it is from these two guys, generally speaking, like the Knicks are going to be, I mean, they're going to be really fucking good, is what I'm going to say. Like they're going to be very, very fucking good. And again, Brunson and Randall have not even got their shit together. But like you can really look at this team right now and you could say RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickly, Mitchell Robinson, those three guys right now are playing the best basketball of their careers. And like that on an individual level right now. And like if Brunson and Randall can just get it going, and I mean, we're not even talking about Josh Hart, who I thought was terrible tonight. DiVincenzo, who I thought is not good tonight, and Ron, like he hit his first three, and then like everything else he put up after that, I was just like, okay, cool.
He decided to go up on Zach Collins for whatever reason it was on that play.
Schwinn, I remember I was listening to you talk about how Warriors fans told you you're going to be
Yeah.
frustrated with Dante at the rim.
Oh god.
And I was like, I don't think it's going to matter that much, but it's like on aggregate, like 1.5 layup attempts per game, where I'm just like, dude, what the fuck are you doing?
They're so loud. His misses are so loud.
Yeah, bro, they're egregiously loud.
He always takes off of 2 feet, so like it makes it a lot harder for him. I don't know. He's now on a team with Brunson and Quickly and RJ. Like I need this guy to maybe work on a fucking floater. That would be that would be nice. But yeah, I thought this game was 47, 32, 87 splits for Quick. Yeah, but like this game was just fun. It was honestly pretty easy. And you know, again, I just can't say enough about how good Mitch was on Wembanyama. I was so impressed with him today.
I think what makes it even better with Mitch is because he said before the game, like basically, you know, this is who I'm watching. Like he's like, oh, you know, I'm watching Chris Stapps, I'm watching Bol. That's who I'm trying to emulate how I guard versus Wemby. And people joked about it, you know. Even the ESPN broadcast, they joked about it because they're stupid. But yeah, I mean, people joked about it. People were like, you know, Wemby's going to take his food or whatever. You know, Wemby's going to come to the garden. He's going to make a name for himself. He's going to get his garden moment, whatever it is. People like to say, you know, in these moments. But, you know, the fact that Mitch was, you know, able to actually back up what he said and, you know, hold down the fort in the most incredible way possible defensively. That doesn't even show on the stat sheet, like Khan mentioned, with no steals, no blocks. You know, that is just a testament to how far his game has come, and just his maturity level. I know his trainer likes to post some bullshit every now and then, but you know,
even Mitch likes to post some bullshit every now and then.
Yeah, but he hasn't this season yet, so you know, there's that. We're 8 games in, he hasn't posted no plus minuses yet, so.
This is from Aldi.
That's still the most insane thing ever.
This is from Aldi Joka. Forgive me if I pronounce that wrong. Player development and coaching on display tonight. Yeah, I agree. Look, I've talked about this forever. Like, I never have understood Tibbs being a bad development coach. I think he's a good development coach. His track record speaks for itself. He's, you know, Jimmy Butler was the 30th overall pick. I'm not even going to use Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose is the number 1 pick. Like Joakim Noah, Taj Gibson. Taj Gibson was what, a 2nd round pick, right? Look at how he's developed in his career. Luol Deng. He's developed. He built a bunch of guys in Chicago. You look at this team in Minnesota, like, I mean, Levine, Wiggins, Cat. Obviously, I'm not giving him credit for like, oh, all those guys panned out or whatever, but like, he didn't stop them. You know, they're not. There's nobody on that. There is really nobody you can point to over his time in the NBA that he has not given a shit about that went somewhere else and became some like massively better player. Young, and I'm talking about young players. I'm not talking about like, oh, fucking Burks left and he's still good in Detroit or something. He's good at identifying talent on his roster. Now, might he put them in boxes a little bit too much? Sure. But like, he's good at player development. I think that makes sense.
Cam Reddish.
Well, Cam Reddish is beyond development. But like, But that's what I'm saying, right? Like people were like freaking out about like, oh, how could he not play Cam? How could he bench Cam? Really, Deuce McBride over Cam? And I'm like,
And now
yeah,
Lakers
well, like,
fans have pitchforks.
yeah, I mean, just it speaks for itself. Like, look, the guy is good. You might not like him. You might hate his.
You might hate the process too.
Yeah, you might
because it's
hate,
ugly.
yeah, you might hate his offensive scheme. You might hate how much the defensive scheme is built on selling out to stop the paint. Like I get all of that. But like you've got to give the guy credit for how these young dudes have developed. I mean, like, let's be real. Quickly and Grimes are 25th overall picks. Like they've exceeded what are reasonable expectations or the average expectations for that draft slot. Mitchell Robinson, I'm not saying it's all because of Tibbs, but you can't tell me that Mitch hasn't
There's
grown.
been a vast improvement in his
yeah,
game.
He's been so much better. Think about even where he was in Tibbs's first season, and I thought he was legit good that season, really impactful, obviously. And he's so much better than he was then now.
Mm-hmm.
Like RJ Barrett, I'm not gonna lie, it's been frustrating at times to watch his kind of like stop-start development. But these first 6 games he's played because he missed the 2, like you've got to be really encouraged with what you've seen. And again, I'm not saying like, look, players always deserve the lion's share of credit for personal development. But at the very least, you can't tell me Tibbs has stopped these guys from developing. And the last one, like, say whatever you want about him. Julius Randle, not a single fucking person in the world thought he would be a 2-time All-NBA player when Tibbs took over. So, like, look, do we love Julius Randle here? No.
Nope.
Do we love his decision-making at all times? Definitely
Nope.
not. Definitely not. But, like, you can't deny the level of player he's, like, or the level of seasons he's had, at least, under Tibbs. And there was no evidence of that before Tibbs. And it would not surprise me if there's no evidence of that after Tibbs. So, like, say whatever you want about the guy, but he is good at developing talent. He is good at getting the most out of a team to a floor level. Is he the best ceiling guy? No. Is he going to be, like, super creative? No. Is he going to always frustrate you and not giving the young guys as much usage as you think they deserve or whatever? Sure. But we got to not pretend that, there's no reason to pretend that Tibbs is bad at every element of the job. Like, the guy clearly has value. He's clearly done a good job in New York. Even if, we come to a point by the end of the season where we're like, well, maybe this is as far as he can take us.
To address this comment about the bagel, that is like what I have as like my snacks in the crib right now.
What? That's not a fucking snack, Sam.
That's a snack for me at night.
Wait, Sam, I thought you said you went and got the bagel, but you made the bagel, is what you're saying.
I toasted it and I buttered it and I ate it.
Okay. Are you guys seeing Sam? Like, if I looked like Sam, I would have a bagel for a snack too. Like, what the fuck? He needs more food, if anything. What are you guys talking about?
He needs
Dude,
to get.
He's like 6'4", 140 pounds. Let him eat his bagel. Like, come on.
I'm like 185. Chill.
He needs to get in the weight room. Sam needs to get in the weight room.
Yeah, and the film room.
Yeah, and the film room. Stop being a sissy.
All right.
Sam's one of these days. Sam's just gonna freak out on here. Like, we're giving him shit about his gambling, his snacks. He's just gonna be like, he's gonna explode.
I thought this comment was funny. What do y'all want to do with Fournier? Tibb hates this dude. Truthfully, who gives a shit, man? Like,
no, is this about not playing him? Is that what it is? Like,
yeah.
He's talked about this before, right? He doesn't do it because he's like, he feels like it'd be disrespectful to just put him in for obvious garbage time.
I think he's gonna play him when like his hand is forced, when he has like no, when the rotation is like, these guys are all injured. You don't think so? You don't think so, Schwinn? We saw it last year when guys were injured. He put in Fournier for like 10 minutes.
I think Deuce will play over him. I think you're gonna.
No, I'm talking about like when the rotation is like really, really skimp.
No, I get it. I think you'll see Sims as the 4 over him.
That's
wow.
I don't even love Evan, but if that happens, that like I'm gonna be pissed.
I want it to happen just because I want to do post game with Jeff after that.
Jeff loves Sims.
I'm just waiting for y'all's optimism to just like. I mean, we should be optimistic, but I'm just waiting to trickle in my like, wait a second, big picture shit. So
I mean, if you're wait a second, big picture shit is, yeah. If Julius is just going to hang out on defense. Not really great stuff. Like, yeah,
It actually, Schwinn, is not about Julius.
Oh, wow. Is it about Mitchell Robinson being awesome?
It's about Jalen Brunson.
Oh, here we go.
Wow. Shade
Debbie Downer. Debbie Downer's here.
No. It's not Debbie Downer. It's not Debbie Downer.
All right, guys. Fun's over.
No, I like Larry Israel's comment because I agree with it completely. I loved the ATO he drew up when the Spurs cut it to whatever they did, like 16, and then he ran that like kind of tic-tac-toe play between quickly RJ and Hardenstein. That was a really I wish they'd run that more in the half court because the three of them have really good chemistry.
I've never seen Hartenstein have as much sauce as he did tonight. He was doing all kinds of layups today. This is Larry Izzo's comment, by the way, just because in case there's people listening to this and not watching it. As bland as the offense has been, Tibbs' defensive schemes have been very creative this season. I agree. I think this is like the best version of Tibbs you're going to get. Like,
is Tibbs evolving?
I do think they've kind of forced his hand. With
getting rid of Obi, putting in Dante.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm sure that Tibbs was devastated when they traded Obi.
Tibbs had a block party when they traded Obi.
Tibbs invited the team over, and they're like, "What are we celebrating?" He's like, "Oh fuck, I'm not supposed to tell." No, really, I appreciate everything you guys did this season. But like with the these different guys now and the lineups he has to run. He's just forced to have to be more creative in a lot of ways because it is a different look. It is a totally different lineup. And look, that bench group today, like especially in that fourth quarter, I don't know. I just thought they like felt really weirdly disjointed or something. I don't know. It was very odd. But like when they have it flowing, like that second quarter with them is fun in a way that like the starters were just bludgeoning the shit out of the Spurs. Whereas like that second unit in the first half, it felt very like poetry in motion type of stuff. And I think that part of it is fun, but defensively they are really, really fun when they're on it. And, it was just, I just agree with the comment. Yeah, I'll shut up now.
Do you think there's anything to like the starters came out both halves and just absolutely blitzed the fuck out of the opposing starters? Do you think there's anything to like, well, they can't just keep going up. Like that just never happens in NBA games. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not making an excuse. I agree with you completely. Like I thought the bench unit actually played pretty bad in both halves. I just feel like it's rare you see just like just continuously going up. That's just like the Knicks would have won by 50 or something if that happened. Not that they couldn't have, but I don't
know. I just thought Hart was like not there today. I don't know what it was. He was that first play he had of a game that he came in was like he's leading the fast break and then he threw it back to Randall instead of to fucking Grimes, who was wide
open layup, right?
Yeah, like, I was like, what is that?
That was the most insane thing I saw today.
Yeah, I just did not. I don't know. It just felt like he didn't have the again, like when Hart is good, his game is very loud. His game felt very like quiet and meek today. And Dante just was weird. I don't know. I also think in the second half there was something to like. I feel like Hartenstein really was trying to like do some stuff in the fourth quarter, and it was not necessarily working. And that's why what was the first sub he made, right? Was Brunson for Hart and then Mitch for Hartenstein. Because I think Tibbs was like, all right, enough of this fucking Wembanyama shit. Like we're putting this to a rest. This game is over. And it worked. The game was over. It was fine. Yeah, and I agree. Look, you're not going to go up. How often do 40-point blowouts actually happen in the NBA, right? Like, it just doesn't happen often for a reason.
For the Spurs, it's twice.
Yeah, man, they're not a good team.
I think they're insane roller coaster.
Can we just say at this point, Pop isn't good anymore? Pop's not a good coach anymore.
What the hell is this Sohan bullshit?
The Sohan Trey Jones stuff. The Trey Jones stuff is baffling to me. Like the only explanation for it is he wants to lose. That's it. That's the only. Like Trey Jones is their third best player. I thought, like, I get them easing Vassell back in. That's fine. Keldon Johnson is horrible, by the way. Like, not just like I can't believe the things people said about him because he's a Spur. He has no idea what he's doing out there. Like, just
the RJ.
It's crazy to watch.
Compared to his contract was so ridiculous, and NBA Twitter was like laughing at us for paying more for RJ than did for Keldon.
Well, the thing is, like, when RJ struggled, I have never watched him and felt like he has no idea what he's doing. I'm usually just like, you're being annoying and dumb, but I know what you're doing. Like, you know what you're doing. You're not out here like a space cadet. You know, you're not Kelly Oubre or fucking Cam Reddish. So apparently Kelly Oubre now is an amazing basketball player. But like, but like, yeah, Keldon Johnson is just out there. You're like, dude, what is up with you right now? Like, are you good? Are you with us? And then those fucking free throws he shot in the fourth quarter, like, what the hell was that?
That was bad.
Are you Mitch?
Like, I've never, like, what does even the best version of him look like? Like, I'm not even saying that as like a troll. Like, let's just say like he was maximized. Is he like a bad defending power Jason Tatum or something? Like, what is he good at? He can't shoot, or he does, like, he has one of the slowest releases.
His shooting is so sporadic and so inconsistent.
But he has one of the slowest releases ever. So, like, his shooting is entirely dependent on somebody else, which you're not a good shooter. Like, I'm sorry, you're not, like, unless you're fucking like Kyle Korver or something that level, to be completely dependent on other people creating open looks for you. I'm sorry, you're just not a valuable shooter in today's NBA. Defenses are too smart, too fast. The rotations are happening at lightning speed. When I was watching him, I was just like, okay, the Spurs position is very clear. Like, they have Trey Jones, they have Vassell, and they have Wemby. Nobody the fuck else matters. And like, if I was a Spurs fan and I had to watch Keldon Johnson thinking he's like a star, I would find a roof. Like, that would drive me fucking insane. I was just,
that Suns game definitely went to his head. So
there was one of their first games, I want to say, I think it was the first game of the year, they played the Mavericks, right? On the ESPN broadcast, they were like, you know, it's the first game of the year, right? So they're telling you all these like corny ass like stories about what teams worked on over the summer and blah, blah, blah. And one of the things they talked about was apparently Pop went to Devin Vassell and Keldon Johnson and was like, the reason we were like the worst defense in the NBA last year is you two guys. And I'm watching them this year and I'm like, is he going to tell them the same thing after this season? Like, because that's what it looks like. They're fucking awful. Like, those, I mean, Vassell, I don't want to do the Vassell thing. He didn't play. He was on a minutes limit. He
got like 3 Shams tweets though.
Yeah. I don't know what that was about. He wasn't healthy, so I'm not even going to bother evaluating his performance tonight. But like, Keldon Johnson, yeah, like he has no fucking clue what he's doing out there. He's just out there. It's crazy.
So does Sohan. Sohan doesn't know what he's doing either, because Pop refuses to play him at a natural position instead of point guard.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. My theory is, and by the way, of course, because I'm sure this pissed you off too, Sam, but like, of course, because it's the Knicks, he's like nailing corner threes with his 45% percentage. Yeah. It's like, people just come into the Garden and become Torian Prince every single night. But my theory with Sohan is, and I'm giving Pops a lot of credit here, is that they see an extremely high defensive ceiling. They want him out there, and they're like, he's never going to be a good enough shooter to matter off the ball. Let's just see what he's got on the ball. You know, like, I think that's what and it's failing, but they don't really care about wins this year. So like, I get living through the lumps, but like, he can have those
ugly ass lumps.
Yeah. And he can have them off the bench. Like, why not give Trey Jones more? Like, the Trey Jones minutes tonight were so good. I just don't get it.
Yeah. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, so you're talking about like why I do wonder if there's just something to the idea of like everything was so easy when Trey Jones was not out there that all of a sudden he was out there and it was like, wait, they're like running offense and like defense is not egregiously garbage. And it's like, they're like, oh shit, like, oh fuck, like we got to actually try right now. So I do think there's something to that, but like, yeah, no, I don't know. I just seriously believe that Pop is pretty fucking washed at this point, and I don't think he cares. I think it's insane that they extended him. Like,
I got with Wemby and Satan.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just think it's crazy. Like that would have been the perfect opportunity to just be like, "Hey, we're gonna, I mean, I know it's always tough to say bye to a legend, but like, would it really have been that hard to be like, hey, like, you're fucking 78,000 years old, Pop. Like,
Look,
So
They didn't want to give him a heart attack and kill him.
on the season, you guys, the Spurs have one player with a positive on-court net rating. That's Trey Jones. So already that's really weird because like he probably like why are other bench like literally only Trey Jones. He's plus 3.9 per 100. Everybody else is awful. Now
That's
here's where
insane.
but wait, here's where it gets better. With Trey Jones on the bench, the Spurs are losing by 26 points per 100. 26 points per 100 when Trey Jones sits. So they're 30 points per 100 better when Trey Jones plays than when he sits.
Not
And they're
even
just
real.
they're just basically like a high school team when he's not out there. I don't get who it's helping not having him out there more. He only played 25
Their
minutes.
draft odds.
I don't understand it. I mean, yeah, I think that's it.
Jesse,
I've got
and then they just get this stupid benefit of the doubt of like, oh, like
The Spurs way.
yeah, Pop's gonna do. Oh, so happy for Wemby. He ended up with the Spurs because they know what they're doing, and it's like, first of all, fuck the Spurs. Like, why you don't need to be fucking happy for these fucking assholes who every fucking time they tank, they fucking stumble into a generational center. Like, get the fuck out of my face. Oh, I'm so happy for the Spurs. Fuck the Spurs. Second of all, like
I'm so happy the Pelicans got Zion. Fuck you.
Oh, David Griffin deserves fucking dick is what he deserves.
Fucking Jorge Sabana. Fuck off.
Like, no, like, but fucking like everybody's like people were going so like bananas about this, and I'm like, have you guys watched the fucking Spurs in the last 5 years? Like, is anybody watching them anymore? Because they were fucking awful last year.
They've not been good.
They were awful last year, and the only time they've been like competent before that was because they were running ISO DeMar offense, which serves no fucking purpose to anybody or anything on that fucking team. It was
Except
just like
DeMar.
they have done nothing, and they weren't even good on defense then either. So like, I just think I don't think he cares anymore. If he cared, I have a hard time believing he would accept this shit. I mean, like, did he even get mad at any point during this game today?
Well, he said that he feels like a great responsibility or some shit to like help Wemby unlock his potential.
Yeah, how about he fucking unlock this team hitting like an average defensive ceiling? And like, I don't want to hear about they're a young team. Get the fuck out of here with that. The Rockets are a young team. And they're playing like a top 10 defense right now. So I don't want to fucking hear about, oh, just young and they're figuring it out.
Timberwolves are pretty young too, I'd say.
Yeah. The Knicks are fucking young. The Knicks, they are a young team. Like, I'm not saying obviously they're more experienced than the Spurs, but this whole like they're a young team thing. It's a fucking dog shit bullshit fucking pass.
When we were a young team, we did not get that pass.
Yeah, it's just bullshit because people don't want to have the honest conversation about Pop that he doesn't give a shit anymore. Because he's not angry. Like Pop 10 years ago would have pulled Keldon Johnson from that game after like 2 minutes. Keldon Johnson would have been like out of the fucking game. And maybe he'd come back in, but he would have fucking absolutely lit him up.
I mean, maybe he does if Vassell wasn't on a minutes limit.
But like, who cares? Put in Branham. You can't. There's nobody on that team that you're going to be like, oh no, he's just so much worse than Keldon. We can't afford it. Like, who? And this is the final thing I'm going to say about this because I don't think we need to turn this into like a Spurs referendum pod. But like, Wembanyama is very obviously already an impactful defender, right? And Jeremy Sohan is already very obviously an impactful defender.
And so is Trey Jones, in my opinion.
Yeah, and so is Trey Jones. With those three guys, you should be able to construct a defense that is not just fucking dudes scoring 140 on you every fucking night. Like the Knicks did not even get some monster game out of anybody tonight, and they dismantled them. This is not like, oh my God, like RJ had 46 tonight or something, right? Or like, oh, like holy shit, Brunson is just absolutely roasting them off the dribble. No, this was like just a total team down, like team-wide destruction, and it was pathetic. And they are pathetic to watch.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but if you gave Tibbs a starting lineup of Trey Jones, Devin Vassell, any small forward, I mean, Tibbs would make sure it was Reggie Bullock, but any small forward, that's not Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sohan, and Victor Wembanyama, they would be a top 10 defense in the league this year. I'm because like we didn't even say Vassell, and I know Vassell is like overrated as a defender, and he's been bad. Like he's been not. I don't want to say bad. He's been an overrated defender, but he has good tools defensively, and Tibbs would maximize those tools.
Yeah, he's a defender because fucking Pop doesn't give a shit. Pop's just out there like he's like doing the Fizdale thing. He's like rolling the ball out. Just get your shots up, bro. Like, treating everybody like they're Kevin Knox. Like, Jesus fucking. Watching this, I'm sorry, just watching them is infuriating this year. And it's not even just watching them, it's just the way they're discussed. I'm like, dude, they haven't won a fucking championship since what, 2014? They've been awful. Like, they were awful last year. They're going to be awful again this year. They've been in the lottery now, what is it, 4 years in a row? They're working on year 5 here. Like, they're not a good team anymore.
I mean, even though they've only been in the lottery like 4 years in a row, the years before that, right, like they weren't a good playoff team either. So they've been kind of directionless for.
You weren't moved by DeMar DeRozan heroically taking Nikola Jokic to Game 7.
Oh, actually, when I was
DeJounte Murray.
I was on my hands. Oh, DeJounte Murray. Yeah, I'd rather have DeJounte Murray than the first overall pick, by the way.
Well, it was one of the most insane days of Twitter discourse ever.
It's burned into my head.
But yeah, look, as far as the Knicks are concerned, like this, they're so I can like feel it. They're so close to just like going on a run because they are not even getting anything consistent from Brunson or Randall or Hart or DiVincenzo right now. And they're 4-4. They went 3-4 against a pretty tough schedule to start the season in terms of playoff matchups. Tonight, Knicks were like free money. I did not understand this spread at all, by the way. Like, the Spurs have been god awful. They have like one of the worst net ratings in the league. They fluked a couple wins against the Suns, who are also terrible at basketball. And like for this, and because people love Wembanyama, it was like what are they 9.5 point favorite or dogs? And I was just like, dude, just the Knicks are gonna pound the shit out of this team. There's nothing the Spurs do. There's not a single thing the Spurs are good or better at than the Knicks. Other than I guess being coached by Greg Popovich, not giving a shit. But like it was a joke. They took care of business. Hopefully they do the same thing against Charlotte on Sunday. That's a weird noon start. So I'm just thankful that J.R. Smith is no longer on the Knicks for this game. But yeah, they're I just feel like at some point, Brunson's going to get another rhythm. Randall's going to be better than what he has been in terms of his scoring efficiency. That quickly is going to make threes at a higher clip. Whatever. Like, there's just so much stuff on this team that is going to happen at some point.
It's going to be that random burst of 15 games from Grimes where he goes absolutely nuclear from 3.
Yeah, it's going to happen. It's going to happen, and I think it's going to happen soon.
I think this is funny. They didn't have guys like Mitch in France, bro.
This is from Chris Bernhard. Mitch had Wemby crying to his mother in French. Jeff, what were you going to say about Brunson? You're on mute, Jeff.
Jeff, you're muted.
I was gonna tweet it, and then I was like, man, I'm gonna get shit on for I'm gonna get shit on for saying this after a 20-point win. So I held it in. Okay. So my worry, and it wasn't really even about this game. It's just like kind of been building throughout the season. And it's kind of, I'm worried that Brunson, whether it's good or whether it's bad, he feels more disconnected, not like emotionally. Like, I know he's like a good leader and everybody loves him, but like when I watch him on the court, whether he's doing something good or something bad on offense, it always feels within himself. And I know like his game is a very one-on-one game, but I see the rest of the team kind of moving away from that. And I guess this is a much longer conversation that needs to be had, but I'm worried that what maybe is best for Jalen Brunson, the offensive basketball player, we're moving towards a place where that might not be what's best for the Knicks. And I don't know how you couple those things, because I feel like this team desperately wants Jalen Brunson to be its best player and its all-star, and they're going to do everything that they can to make that the case. But like, if that happens, I think we're going to see a lot of games like when he starts turning around, we see a lot of games like the Bucks games where he goes off and the rest of the team kind of doesn't. And the mood and the commentary is always like, oh, the teammates need to be better. But I don't think that's an accident because I think that his game is it's not connective. He plays within himself. Like that's just his style. He's not a great passer because of his size. I think he's a skilled passer, but I don't think he's an impactful passer because I think his size limits him. And so I think it's really hard to build a system. Like this wouldn't be a problem if somebody like him was like your sixth man, your second or third best player. But when someone like this is your best player, I think it hurts the rest of the team. I'm not sure about that. I'm not saying that's definitely right. It's just a feeling I've been having more and more when I watch him and like the show is running through Brunson. It's like, okay, dribble up the court, dribble, get a screen, do the thing where he passes to Julius and he passes and then he runs and gets the ball back. And it's like a lot of him doing what he does. And I don't see him elevating lesser teammates. Like when the when the ball runs through RJ or it runs through quickly, you see them putting Hartenstein in spots where he otherwise wouldn't be. You see them playing off of other players, and there's a certain connectivity that happens. And I think that that's why some of the best team basketball that we see with the Knicks happens when Brunson's not on the court. I'm not calling him selfish, obviously. I just think it's his natural style. So I guess that's just like the feeling I was having tonight is like, there just seems to be a disconnect between how the Knicks are trying to evolve and how Jalen Brunson wants to play basketball. And that's just kind of a feeling I can't shake. And I'm not saying it's right. I just, that was, again, that's just a feeling that I had.
Isn't it
think
also
that's a
something
result
that
of
Tibbs? Was that what you were going to say, Sam?
Yeah, I was about to say, do you think this is something that was a result of him being empowered to play like this from last year?
Oh, maybe. I mean, it could be exactly what they want. Again, it could just be much ado about nothing. I don't know. I just, when I watch it, just, there rarely are games or like stretches where it's like, oh man, the team is clicking, when it's running through Brunson. When Brunson's clicking, it's like, oh man, Brunson's got it. And he's so skilled, and he's such a valuable individual offensive player. I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying from a team ceiling perspective, in my opinion, there has to be a worry there because I don't know how high you can go.
I think it looks more like that this year just because it seems that he is trying more so to get himself going just because he hasn't been getting going as easily as it seemed last year. So it could be that, this year it looks like he's pressing just a little bit more just because he hasn't got it going as consistently as he wants it to be. And maybe once he gets himself into a groove, things sort themselves out more evenly.
Yeah, I think you have to see him in an offense that's not Tibbs or Jason Kidd. And I don't care. Like the Olympic stuff, I don't give a shit about that, man. They're like, those guys played together for like 7 minutes and it's an all-star team and it's weird and whatever. I mean, the people that were like running fucking NBA agendas off of the Olympics need to get a fucking life, to be honest. But like, I just think you need to see him in a different system or with a coach that involves a little more ball movement. I also think like I thought the offense when he was on the floor with the bench was good when he let Quickly run the offense in the first half anyway. But like it was weird because Quickly was going. They were in a good rhythm, and then Brunson he tried to take a shot at the rim. Somehow the ball ended up back with him, and then he was ISO'd on Bassey, and you could almost tell he didn't want to take the shot. But then he was like, "Well, it's fucking Bassey, so I guess I have to take the shot," and he missed it. But it was just like a very he doesn't seem in in rhythm. I understand what you're talking about isn't just about one game or this season. But I do feel like a lot of this is about, look, do I think Quickly wants to ISO as much as he does? I don't. He didn't play that way in college. I don't get the sense watching him that that's all he's capable of. I don't think Grimes only wants to be a standstill spot up shooter, right? I don't think RJ only wants to run pistol. I think there's what you're seeing offensively in a lot of ways is shaped by Tibbs. Do I think Brunson's natural inclination at times is to ISO. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what he is at heart. He's a scorer, no doubt about it. But I do think another coach willing to be a little bit more flexible and experimental with personnel could get him and others on this team to play a different way, like to play with a little bit more flow, to do that. But like, we'll never know, right? Is the chicken or the egg? So until we get a trade where Brunson goes out, which isn't going to happen, or like Tibbs gets fired, which right now, like quite honestly, would I bother? Like, would I even want to fire Tibbs right now? I don't know. I'd probably just want to. I want to kind of see the fucking season play out, and then we'll go from there. But like, yeah, I think
I also think Schwinn, an answer can just be what you always say, and that's that, like, dude, ceiling doesn't always have to be the most important thing. Like, sometimes you can just enjoy being a good to really good team. Like,
Oh God,
I could just
speaking of
I
which, ESPN
yeah.
today.
like
Yeah.
yeah, like I could just be thinking way too much about, like, can this team win a championship, and falling into that trap, and it's like, if Jalen Brunson is like raising your floor to the degree where you're in the playoffs year after year, that could just be enough, like. And then Larry Israel just made another great comment, which is Brunson is one of the smartest, most hardworking players that we've seen. So like, it would be stupid of me to be like, Brunson can't do this. Like, maybe he just becomes a better off-ball player, or he's like, hey Tibbs, like I can set some screens or whatever. Or maybe he just becomes so dominant on ball through improving that it doesn't matter. Like, these are all avenues that could work too. So again, it could just be much to do about nothing. It's just how a little like inkling that I've been having these last few games of watching him.
Yeah, and I mean, like, kind of a sign of that is his defense has been a lot better this year than I think I would have expected. So he's obviously grown in some ways, and yeah, like, it's early in the season. We'll see how it goes, but the main thing is, like, unless you think a team like Tibbs is wasting championship upside, or like that because of how Tibbs is coaching this team, it's going to fundamentally like shape a player's future in a very specific way in terms of their development. I don't think there's much to worry about. Like, if for some reason we've and honestly, like, after the Mark Jackson fucking Steve Kerr thing, like, if Steph Curry can go from playing the most ISO heavy brand of basketball to ever exist to like nonstop running, screens, cutting, whatever, I think there's hope for everybody in that sense. But yeah, Khan, I know you gotta get out here. Any last thoughts you want to close up with?
Yeah, this I think is the best part of this, or the most important part of the conversation. Larry Israel saying Brunson's an incredibly coachable player. He's 1,000,000% doing what the game plan calls for. I believe that wholeheartedly. Obviously he left Dallas, right, because he wanted to be the guy to some extent, and playing off ball, 15% more of the time is not going to stop him from being the guy over here, right? So, I think to some extent, like, you do see it, especially when Quick is in the game, that he does play a lot more off ball, and he's willing to sacrifice because they have so much trust in Quick. But yeah, just to sum up, I would agree with Jeff that the ceiling is higher once we get a little bit more movement going in the offense. But that's a Tibbs issue. It's going to be here for until Tibbs is gone. And we'll see how it plays out. But thank you guys for having me. I'm gonna get out of here. Take it easy, boys.
Later, man.
Later.
Thanks for coming on, Con.
Yes, sir.
Have you did the
God,
three?
now we can talk about football.
Did the three of you talk about Grimes at all? What are you guys?
We haven't talked
thoughts
about Grimes actually for even like 3 seconds.
Yeah, we have.
what are y'all's thoughts on the Grimes situation?
He's in the he's like where Quickly was at the start of his second year, is kind of what it feels like to me. Where it's like he has a role, and that's cool. He trusts him in that role, but as soon as somebody else on the team he trusts more, who can viable, like who he feels can play that position, is having a good game, those guys are going to get more minutes than Grimes, and that's just how it's going to be right now. I'll tell you this though: if he made the most of his touches today, which I liked. He did not hesitate. He even took a shot that I didn't think was a good shot, but I was like happy he took it. It was that corner three he took with somebody right in his face, but I was happy he took it because I was like, good. Like, it's fine to take a bad, like you especially need to take a fucking bad shot every once in a while. It's fine. Like you need that have that fuck you attitude a little bit. But yeah, I thought he played well. He probably honestly deserved to play more tonight. I also think that he's not gotten off to a great start this season. So it is what it is. That's where he is in the pecking order, and it's on him to change that. And he's going to get every opportunity to change it because he is the starter. And we know that, as you like to point out, if you start, you will play X amount of minutes to start each half. So I think he'll have plenty of opportunities. And today was a good game. This was a good game. And to be fair to him, look, last game against why am I forgetting who it was against?
Clips.
Against the Clippers was not his finest hour. But I think it's also easy to forget that like Milwaukee was a good game for him. So 2 of his last 3 have been good. Like let's keep that going.
Can we play Milwaukee a little bit more so our backcourt can get going? Because like holy hell, look at every single guard who's played against Milwaukee lately. Like today, Cade Cunningham, Killian Hayes, and Marcus Sasser all just like went berserk basically.
Yeah, they're terrible defense. I'm like I have some real strong hot takes about them. That
Sam, if you want a bet, and as well as you emotionally hedging because you hate him, just do a same game parlay of all Julius Randle overs on Sunday. Let me tell you why. Danilo Gallinari and Kyle Kuzma combined to go 20 of 35 tonight with 8 threes and 51 points. That is the power forwards for Washington just dismantled Charlotte in Charlotte. So that it's looking nice.
The Wizards finally got one.
Their bench is also fucking awful.
Who's their bench?
It's awful. If they had Frank, maybe it'd be a little better. But
it's JT Thor, Nick Richards, Ish Smith, Theo Maledon, Bryce McGowan's.
Ew! What the hell?
Yeah.
Don't forget about my guy Leahy Black.
I might forget about him. Not gonna lie. Did Mark Williams get hurt? He had 4 fouls today. Maybe that's why. But I don't know why he didn't play more. They actually won his minutes, which is insane.
Yeah, LaMelo had another LaMelo game, I guess. Do you guys to sort of reel it in and bring it back? Do you guys agree that right now, probably correctly, Tibbs in pretty much any close game is going to default to closing with the big 3 plus Mitch? Like those are the 4 guys on the court.
Yes.
Would you
yes.
agree? Okay.
Yes.
And would you also agree that in the pecking order of Zach, that in the pecking order of the 5th spot, Grimes is 4th? Or do you think he's ahead?
Yeah, absolutely. He's bottom of the barrel. But I will say, like, I don't know. It could also be Dante. I don't know. I don't have a strong feeling, but I do suspect that he prefers Dante just because, like, Dante is more. He'll go get you those fucking 50-50 rebounds out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
He's louder with his impact.
Yeah, for sure.
I got to imagine that's like a season of that. Like Grimes is going to very quickly fall into that's funny that I said that word, into the quickly frustration of like, actually, I mean, it doesn't, you say this all the time, Shred. I feel like I come back to stuff you say all the time. Like quickly, I feel like the only people who are frustrated about quickly the last few years are like fans of his. Like he doesn't show it at all. He like loves Tibbs and loves playing for the Knicks. He was jumping up and down on the bench last game while we were like only 20 minutes. Yeah. He just seems to love it. So
I think I do feel like, look, I think it means a lot. And look, I know that people will be like, it's just words. The actions mean more. But like for Tibbs to come out and talk about quickly the way he did during like preseason, like he basically was like, Quickly's my guy. Like I want him to be here. We hope everything gets sorted out. Like he was very strong about like how much he said something like, I value like Quickly or something like that. I forgot exactly what the quote was, but for him, and he doesn't say shit like that. You know what I mean? Like he's not one to just like come out and like praise his players or something. So for him to say that, I think means a lot. I'm sure that Quickly appreciated that. The minutes can be weird. I have a hard time believing that he doesn't have a good relationship with like Worldwide Wes and Leon. And we see him like, you see on the Instagram that they like the Knicks post all the time before the game. He's always like, working out with Johnny Bryan, joking around with him and all that shit. Like I do. And he's like him and RJ, like they've been like, I mean, you mentioned their minutes together this year have been awesome aside from this fourth quarter today. Like I've loved their minutes together. But like, yeah, I'm not really worried about his minutes because, we talked about this before you got on here, Jeff, but like, I think we saw today that a lot of it, to me, it's like Hart and Quickly actually exist in their same tier. The problem is that Tibbs will more often feel that the defensive matchups call for Grimes down this or Hart down the stretch than they will for Quickly, assuming that RJ is now kind of like locked in, right, as one of the closers, then it obviously is a choice between the two. But I think you saw today some evidence of there are going to be matchups where he'll prefer to close with Quickly than Hart. Like, oh, he's got to chase this fucking asshole around pick 7,000 times, like Doug McDermott. Okay, I want Emmanuel Quickly in the game, right? So like, I think that it can be annoying, but there's logic to this stuff. But yeah, I don't think that he's pissed off, and he's clearly ahead of like fucking Dante and Grimes. And look, I was saying this all summer. Like, I really did not think Dante was going to be taking Quick's minutes. It was always Grimes' minutes to me that I was like, I don't know. One way into the Tibbs doghouse is definitely to show any hesitation on offense.
Yeah, for sure. And your point about like, we always talk about how what makes Quickly special is like when he's on the court with other great players, he doesn't really bring diminishing returns. Like he can find ways to impact games. But in a weird way, in those closing lineups, what Quickly does well probably seem more diminishing and redundant than what Hart brings to Tibbs, if that makes sense. Like Tibbs can always be like, we need a little bit more size out there. We need Hart's rebounding. Those are extra stuff that Tibbs can always say. That's the reason we want him out there at the end. Whereas, if we were like, if somebody was like,
spacing doesn't have a box score
exactly.
value. So,
and also like Tibbs probably is like, I'm running it through Jalen and Julius anyways. Like, so Quickly's advantage there with the ball in his hands doesn't matter as much.
Yeah,
sadly. Although, that's where the downside comes of having.
I know it doesn't work this way, but I do wish there was. And again, we've said so many good things about Tibbs, so I don't feel guilty saying this because I'm not saying like I agree with you. I don't know about extending him, but they definitely shouldn't consider like anything this season with Tibbs, like play it out. But I do wish there was a little bit more like, okay, Julius doesn't have it tonight. Even Jalen doesn't have it tonight. Let's mix these lineups around and get, run some lineup like Quickly, Grimes, Hart, RJ. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just wish there was, or Quickly, Grimes, RJ Randall, or something like that, or Brunson, Grimes, RJ, Hart. Just shit like that would give people other guys that aren't the big three plus Mitch or Hartenstein a little bit more of a chance down the stretch, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and that is actually like kind of speaks to your, when you were talking about you're worried about, or you had some thoughts about Brunson, like that to me just speaks to why I think a lot of this is like what you're talking about, like can Brunson, he plays this way, and like I think some of that it is a Tibbs thing, like that's just generally how he wants his ball handler and his primary scorers to be. I mean, we even see that Quickly, and Quickly did not come into the league being like some super ISO heavy, like, let me get the switch, drag it out, cook. Like, that's just not what he was. And now I feel like I'm watching and I'm like, are you like fucking ball don't stop pill? Like, but yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, like, I think, if I will say, if this is the role that Grimes is going to be, and these are the minutes he's going to be, I do think that you have an interesting decision to make because
about paying him,
not just about paying him, but like his value, I think, is pretty high around the league. I think the way he's viewed is very high. And you've got this Fournier contract sitting there. It's at a nice dollar value. I mean, you even have let's be real. You have Dante's contract. I'm sure they like him, but I don't think there's a world where they would be like, no, we can't trade Dante because he's friends with Jalen Brunson. Get the fuck out of here. But that dollar value gets you into an interesting place, right? Fournier, Dante, Grimes. Where does that even get you? Does that get you into the territory for the type of guy that you might think perimeter puts you over the top or something? Maybe. I don't know. But I do think if Grimes is going to be I mean, I've been consistent about this. I'll say it again. I'll always pick if you're you have to pick one or the other. I'm always going to pick quickly over Grimes. I don't even think it's particularly close. And I understand the value of Grimes's positional defense, especially in that starting lineup.
It's more so potential at this point too.
Yeah, it just I think
the idea of Grimes.
Yeah, I just think the Knicks would be insane to okay, and maybe this is just me. So I view them as totally different levels and calibers of talent right now. Grimes
you should.
Grimes can't dribble or won't dribble or doesn't feel confident enough to dribble. I'm sorry, that matters. It does matter a lot. And that is just a massive discrepancy in their value as players. If Quickly was not a good defender, then it would just be an obvious no-brainer. You keep Grimes because, you really can't play Quickly and Brunson together. But that's not the case. Somehow Quickly has alien morphed himself into some plus defender all the time. And it's just, it just makes it a clear-cut choice to me. So I would be curious though, if the Knicks would quietly at least, see what Grimes's value is, see what the market is for some of a package of him and some other guys, plus maybe some of the picks. Does that get you the level of player that you think you need to seriously elevate yourself? I don't know, but it'd be interesting.
Incoming Ian Begley report. It's gonna be an Ian Begley report in a couple of weeks.
Do you guys
Knicks
think
canvassing the league for Grimes's value?
Do you guys think that it could get to a point let's just say Grimes has a whole season like this. I don't even think if this is what he did all season, he shoots 35-40% or whatever from three on low volume, is a good defender, but literally that's it. He doesn't show anything else. Don't you think that they'll be able to extend him for some number that's just yeah, you want him on that number? Don't you think they'd be able to get him for 4 for 50 or something insane like that if he keeps playing like this?
Well, yeah, I mean, in a way, it's almost because they'd be suppressing his value. But I don't know. I feel so differently about Grimes right now than I ever did about, we've talked about Quickly's minutes every fucking year, right? I feel, and they're the strongest parallels to each other. Just kind of, they're both 25th pick. How they've been, whatever. You get the point. I just don't. I don't think Grimes is doing anything right now that I'm this is so wrong. He needs to play more. I'm no, you're not. And it's only been 8 games, so I'm not even sounding the alarms or something, but he's just not playing well enough yet for me to be Tibbs is this is so fucked up. I can't believe what they're doing to him. No, I'm sorry. You've got to play better. And so just do that. If he does that, then we can kind of, then we can have the conversation of is this a problem or not?
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you. And I agree with the part where it's they're almost artificially suppressing him. I just think that even given his struggles so far this year and the lows that he's shown, when you have a guy who has shown already that he can shoot the way he does and can defend the way he does, if you can get him at a number that's as low as it could be after the season, I think you just do it and don't worry about spending too much money at the guard position,
Look, I agree. And I do look, if their past actions mean anything, they're comfortable taking guys into contract years. They did it with Mitch. They're doing it with IQ now. So we know they're comfortable doing it in certain scenarios. And we also know that because of that, it would not surprise me if they were just well, what we would trade Grimes for in a certain package isn't out there. So we're comfortable just holding on to him for right now. And we'll make him an offer. It ain't going to be an offer he won't refuse, but he might not refuse it anyway because he might just be fuck it, let me just take the money. But you see this all the time with guys, right? Like they just take the money and then figure it out. Which is why like the quickly thing was like, oh my god, is there a huge problem? Does he hate everybody now? Is he gonna demand a trade? And like it's just funny to like think about that, and then you watch him on the bench and he's like jumping around and
He's the happiest guy in the world.
yeah.
I will say, for a reason that you said earlier, I find it more important than maybe it's giving credence to right now that Grimes does figure it out. Because if Tibbs's natural inclination is going to be to want to go with size down the stretch, and he's going to lean Hart over quickly in these big moments because he likes the bigger guy, Grimes needs to be in that equation, because Grimes is bigger than Quickly, but a way better shooter than Hart. And like we saw it in the playoffs last year. Like we saw in the playoffs what happens when Tibbs leans Hart over Grimes in these spots against defenses that are locked in and like have the scouting reports. Like I almost don't really like, maybe if it happens, if the lineup plays a ton this year and just overwhelming success, or one of them, or RJ's shooting is real. And I do believe like his free throw shooting is just too good. I do believe to some
That's always a
degree
good
his
indicator.
Yeah. But I just will never believe in the Hart RJ at the 2 and 3. And we can check back in with that, closer towards the All-Star break. But I think that's why Grimes matters, is because like if Tibbs wants a bigger guy next to Brunson, RJ, and Randall with a center down the stretch of these big games against really good teams, I would just still rather have Grimes than Hart out there because of his shooting and gravity.
Same. Let's see. I think we've covered everything for today's game.
Grimes has been somewhat disappointing from a shooting perspective, but Knicks don't run enough plays for him. Again, this is kind of like
they're never gonna run plays for him.
This is also kind of like a chicken or egg thing, where it's like, yeah, they don't run plays for him, but are they not running plays for him because they see him pump fake and record scratch on plays? Is it because they don't do it because they're like, well, if he doesn't get the shot up immediately, he's not going to put the ball on the deck, and now we got to restart the possession? Is there that trust there? And then the other thing, like, again, we've talked a lot about Tibbs's kind of like the good parts of him and whatever, but like a thing about him, and this is just obvious, is he is not going to run stuff for you to develop in game. He's going to do it if he thinks doing it will help you win the basketball game because you're good at that thing. Mm-hmm. So like he would not let Quickly run the offense as a rookie, right? Because he's just like didn't trust him to do it and didn't think he was good enough to do it. And it took him a long time to trust him to like run the offense when he was out there, right?
Yeah.
Like Grimes has to earn that trust from Tibbs. As long as he's our coach, the way you have to do that is to like excel at the thing that he's asking you to do. And then if you do that,
play a role really well.
Yeah, then he might start being like, okay, how do I make... and Grimes talked about this all training camp too, right? He's mentioned that like all the coaches
told you to shoot.
Yeah, shoot. So okay, so they told you to shoot. So why would they start running plays for you if you're not even doing the basic core requirement of what they ask?
Too fast.
Yeah, shoot the fucking ball when you're open and don't hesitate. And that was like a good thing. Like I know he only got 5 shots up today, but he didn't hesitate on anything. I mean, I loved that drive he had to start the game. That was really nice. It was not a drive, right? He came off a curl, but like just to see him not hesitate and go to the rim was nice. He hit a couple threes that were just like so quick trigger. Both the threes were a really quick trigger. That I like that. So like, yeah, I get the frustration for people that like want Grimes to get more. I'm also like, I don't know. I genuinely feel like I'm turning into like a Tibbs believer this year or something. So like, I kind of am fine with what Tibbs is doing with him right now. I think it's okay.
Schwinn is drinking the Tibbs Kool-Aid.
Look, man, Larry mentioned it. Like, I think his rotations have been as good as they could reasonably be in the world where you put yourself in Tibbs' brain and like only have 2 rotations a half. But like
the only thing I don't like is the Hart coming in before quick thing. Like I hope that's something that isn't really.
Yeah, we'll see. But like I think his just to his, like, like Larry mentioned earlier, his defensive game plans have been really, really good and creative. And I think he's trying more things. He's definitely letting Mitch do more like off the cuff defensive reads and pick and roll than he ever has before. I think Mitch definitely has a huge level of trust now to kind of, I'm just going to blitz this one, or like, I'm just going to trap this one, or I'm going to come out higher or whatever. Like, I think he just trusts him now to a higher degree. So he gives him a lot more freedom. And I think he's done that too with Quickly. Like I've seen Quickly now in places all the time where I'm like, are you even fucking supposed to be here, dude? Like what are you doing here?
I've noticed the same thing. Quickly is much more gambly than he's ever been. Like that steal he had on Wembanyama today was a complete gamble. He saw Wemby turn his back and he just went for it. He was like, yeah, he's not going to turn around fast enough. And he got the steal. It was good, but like that could have been potential layup given up if Quick wasn't right.
Do we think that is a shift that they're trying to embrace with the addition of DiVincenzo, who also gambles a ton and just trying to get out into transition, trying to get more easy baskets? Do we think that's what their game plan is?
Yeah, I agree. I think they're definitely trying to force more live ball turnovers. I think they're definitely trying to get out in transition more, for sure.
Also, last year we talked a lot about like, oh, the Knicks mathed their way to like 47 wins, right? Because it was like, oh, they won the possession battle. They prioritized offensive rebounding, like owning the glass. They prioritized being a low turnover team and blah, 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 right? Their shot chart was great. I feel like if you look at one of the guys, like, so whatever we think about him, OG Anunoby, one thing he is he's a great, great steals guy. He is great at generating turnovers. That's a guy they clearly had interest in. Didn't get him. DiVincenzo has long been a guy who gets steals, who generates turnovers. I think Josh Hart's been a guy who generally is pretty good at getting steals, generating turnovers. This seems to be a thing that they've been targeting, an area where they're very keenly aware of, like, hey, like, we are not good at this. We do not get enough turnovers. We don't do that. We need to improve here. And it feels like, yes, personnel-wise, they've added something there, but it does feel like maybe Tibbs is being pushed to do this more, or maybe it's just a conversation they had and they're like, hey, look, we think if we can get more turnovers, I don't think like your defense isn't going to collapse and we can get easier buckets in transition. Like it could definitely have just been a conversation they had between him and like the analytics staff or whoever, and just showing him the data and like why this could work. And I mean, for whatever the reason, his schemes right now, they're aggressive in a way they have not been in the past. Some of that's about personnel for sure, but I think some of that is he's allowing these guys to play to their strength. Like he's letting DiVincenzo gamble a little bit more, be super aggressive on rotations and help defense and stuff like that. And that's not like, in the past, he's always kind of more been a guy that's more like, this is my scheme, run my like. You need to tag the roll man. Then you need to run out to the 3-point shooter.
You need to follow it to a T.
Right. And I think he's kind of changed the template a little bit. And
I've always said that with most things. This can sound really nerdy, but like, when you're thinking about game theory in any game, you always want to have a baseline strategy to deviate from rather than just be like randomly exploitative. And I do think that some of Tibbs' rigidity early on was trying to build something to deviate from rather than people just out there randomly doing shit. He wanted to make sure that that was
Fizzo's thing.
Yeah, that was a Fizz thing. I do think Tibbs probably should have gotten more credit from me and others who thought like me for understanding in the long run it's better to have a system built in, and then eventually you can be like, okay, now you know the system, pick your spots to deviate from it.
And he trusts these guys now, right? Like he's coached RJ, Quickly, Mitch, Randall for 3 years. That's a lot of like games and minutes and trust that you've earned with those guys. Brunson, obviously, he's known forever, so that's like its own fucking thing. Josh Hart, he has wanted to like marry since the first time he found get a rebound. But like, no, like he trusts these guys. And I do feel like, I mean, there's no way to know this, but I feel like if you genuinely ask him, like, who's like, I would imagine this is his favorite team that he's coached. This group of guys. Sorry, go
probably.
ahead. Yeah, like, but your point, like, the frustration I think is how long he was just like, this is the scheme, we're doing the scheme, and it was like, okay, it's been 2.5 years, like, can we do something else? But that's the sign of him, like, maybe evolving as a coach and genuinely like being open to suggestions. It's like, look, I don't think it's I do think some of the changes that were made in the rotation last year were influenced, but beyond that, even like the tactical stuff he's doing now is more creative than shit he's really ever done. Like, it's more diverse anyway, if anything. Like, and I think that's really impressive for what isn't he like the oldest coach in the league aside from Pop or something like that?
I
Man,
want to
really?
say that, yeah.
So like for a guy like him to kind of show this level of adaptability at his age
Yeah,
is
you're right.
really impressive. So yeah, I don't know. Like I'm just
Until it's the playoffs and he just like spits on
well,
us.
but even in the playoffs, his defensive stuff last year in the playoffs was good.
Yeah, I
Like,
know. It was the offense that fell apart.
Aside from like weird random double teams of Jimmy Butler for no reason, I was very satisfied with their defensive game plans. I thought he was really, really good. And I feel like, I don't know, he seems like he's in
It was
a
just
good
his
place.
lineups.
Yeah,
His lineups are so fucking weird in the playoffs.
Lineup stuff with him will always be weird, and minute stuff with him will always be weird. And the offense will always be kind of generally what the offense is, just with better spacing and stuff like that. But defensively, this is so far from what I've seen, like he has a chance for this to be like his most impressive defensive year anyway.
Schwinn, to tie a bow on the Pop stuff, from our friend Chris Persianen. Greg Popovich was asked post-game about Robinson's defense on Wembanyama and said that, quote, the two didn't play each other and weren't matched up against one each other. Said Wemby had smaller players on him.
What the fuck is he talking about?
And then below it is just ESPN, the ESPN stat that Wembanyama shot 0 for 6 with Mitch as the primary defender tonight.
Dude,
Pop is like smoking something tonight.
Dude, I seriously, I don't think he gives a shit at all right now. Like he is completely fucking checked out, and it's embarrassing. Like it's genuinely. What did they give him? A fucking $40 million? What is it? How much is he getting paid now? What was that extension they gave him?
I don't know, but
It was
more than enough that I need.
Extension. I don't know, Sam.
5-year extension.
Huh?
You got expensive taste, Sam.
I do.
I seen your shoes, bro.
I do. I have expensive taste. I do.
Oh,
But still, I could use like a quarter of Pops' contract. I'd give more.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, 5-year, $80 million deal.
Ridiculous. That's a crazy.
Wait, what?
580 for that. That's fucking bananas. That's
What
bananas.
the
I'm
hell?
sorry.
I understand like he's popping. That's probably like a legacy contract, but like, my God. Wow.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, that guy is so fucking.
Does he want to share? Like, what the hell? He's so liberal, right? Does he want to share?
I don't know if that's how it works, Sam.
That's how it works in my head.
It's more about other people sharing their money, and it's like, that's usually how it works for.
Well, when we're eating the rich, I'm gonna go straight for Pop.
Yeah.
Well.
JK, for bringing it back.
You're gonna go straight for Pop. I think that. Oh, brother. He would. I don't know how tough a target. Like, I don't know how much he can move.
Exactly.
There's like this stand-up comedian that I like talks about. Has this bit where he talks about like who the funniest presidents to see get got would be. And he's like, obviously, watching Trump get got would be hilarious. Like that, he's number one easily. Like he'd make a funny noise. He'd probably be talking shit to the killer, And then he's like, but Biden did cross my mind. He's like, I don't think it would be funny, but what's kind of funny is I feel like Biden's the first president that you could punch assassinate. He's like, all the other ones you'd have to go to a little bit more extreme measures, but Bunch, you could just be like, how you doing, Mr. President? Bam. It's like, fuck, man.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, man, that Pop contract is insane.
But I just want to close this because somebody sent this to Discord, which I sent as like a total fucking like parody of soccer Twitter tweets. But I tweeted this out very like this is after one of the early games in the season, I think. Said we have a number of academy products in Mitchell Robinson, RJ Barrett, Quentin Grimes, and Emmanuel Quickly who understand the club and play for the badge. But like, it is actually like awesome watching those guys. I mean, in particular, Mitch, RJ, and Quick, because like, they've been here for a while now. They have been drafted and developed by this team. In Mitch's case, he's been through like Mitch actually experienced like the shit, like he really experienced the shit. RJ caught a little bit of it with like the death throes of Fizdale's pathetic and sad coaching tenure. But like Mitch really experienced some shit. And so
Mitch was on the court with like randoms.
Bro, Mitch played with like Noah Vonleh. Okay. That's like serious.
And Sasha Vujacic. Did he?
No, he wasn't a Vujacic. Vujacic
Nah.
was gone by that.
What about was he here with
he played with Henry Ellenson.
What about the guy that actor like Kuz whatever? Was Mitch there for that?
Kuzminskas?
Yeah. Kuzminskas? I know he was gone by then.
He was with the KP year.
Man, these years blend together.
Trier.
Yeah, I guess
yeah, he was here for the whole Alonzo Trier experience. He was here for that random dude, John Jenkins, that like shot well one game and then went away forever. But like, yeah, like it's just cool to see a Knicks team that, and it's not even just those guys, right? Like even Julius Randle said whatever you want about him. The guy's been here 5 years, like, and I think that's probably some of the reason for the annoyance of it is like familiarity breeds contempt. We're so familiar with the good and bad of his game that like, it's hard not for everything with Julius to always be focused on the long term. And that's just not, it's not right. It's not fair necessarily to evaluate a player like that on a game by game basis. But so like, there's that, I mean, even Brunson and Hartenstein, even though they've only been here for like the second year, but they just feel like they've been here for a while. There's a high level of continuity.
Feel part of the family.
Yeah. It just feels different, but like those three guys, penis cancer. But those three guys, just very specifically, I feel like, I'm sure everybody has their own favorite, right? Mitch, RJ, Quick, whoever, but like they occupy a very different place for me as a fan than like anybody else on this team, and really anybody else on this team since like, I don't know, like Ewing, basically.
Wow, Dennis Smith Jr. started at point in Mitch's rookie year.
And this is another thing, Schwen, that you've talked about religiously for almost a year now, ever since the Donovan Mitchell trade, where you were like, and you've kind of carried it over to the Embiid trade, where you were just like, if the Knicks traded for Embiid and would have won a championship, would I be happy? Of course I would be happy. I'm a Knicks fan. But like, there's something more special about getting to root for guys that like are here for a while.
Yeah.
And you're always saying like, I just don't want to root for a bunch of mercenaries. I want it to be more than that. Like that's what fanhood is. And I do think that what you're saying kind of correlates with that.
Well, like just can we like give them a chance? Like I know that everybody wants to like immediately put a ceiling on what this
ESPN
can be and
TNT.
Yeah, I mean ESPN today in the pregame. I don't know what the hell they were.
It was insane.
Crazy.
They put up like the Knicks title odds on DraftKings. They were like, Knicks are plus 5,000 to win the championship.
Again, like leave it to Kendrick Perkins to be like the voice of reason on the fucking panel, where they kept trying to bait him into this answer because he was like, "Well, why do we think that they're no?" He's like, "Their ceiling right now is a second round exit," and they're like, and they kept trying to like basically try to get him to say like they need to make a move, and he's like, no, they got to stay patient and wait for the right move. Like I like what they're doing. Like he was just like, this is fine, and this is fine, and I just want to say like, can we just give them a chance? If this awesome home run move isn't there, we don't need to act like it is and force some trade. Like if it's not there, it's not there. So let these guys grow, see what happens. If the trade is there, fine, pull the trigger. If not, I'm fine with just keeping these guys together for right now. And guess what? You'll have a couple first round picks. You can start supplementing, building out your talent pipeline for the future again. And it just, this is something the Celtics made huge changes this offseason, right? We know this. But they gave that group a genuine chance. Like that group had years together. They had years together. They got a legitimate chance. The Knicks just made a second round fucking series And immediately it's like, oh my God, they got to make these gigantic fucking moves. The time is now. You can't waste Jalen Brunson's contract, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but like, I don't think we're wasting it. I think we have guys that are good. We have good talent. We added a nice piece in DiVincenzo. Let's see what happens. And like, we can enjoy that part of it, but give them a chance. Let's just see what this group can be. Who knows? Like the only pressing need to me, right, is whatever. I don't want to turn it into 40 the number 30 talk right now, but like it's this group is fine. Let's see what they have. I don't think any trade's going to come up midseason that makes any sense. And I'm very happy to play out the year with this group and then reevaluate come the end of the season.
Yeah, I'm pretty much there as well.
Would you guys agree that it's extremely unlikely that that anything happens at the trade deadline? Like this is just the team.
I mean, this is the team.
Yeah, I would. Philly looks good, so I don't think there's any chance Embiid is. I didn't think there's a chance anyway, but I don't think there's any chance Embiid is getting traded, in season anyway. The only guy I could see getting traded in season is like
someone from the Bulls.
Yeah, but I mean Levine, isn't he playing terrible right now?
He's like so sporadic.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we have the king of that. But like, so I mean, it's like, where would you? I mean, I think it's one thing to be like Tibbs, you're gonna play like Josh Hart's gonna be the backup 4, and I think it's another thing to be like, we're gonna like, what do you'd have to trade Randall or like, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like if RJ
Josh Hart, you're the starting 4.
Yeah, if RJ is playing this well, why? I just don't see it. Like I think they'll just play out the year because they'll be like, well, we might have a second bargain contract on our hand. We might actually only have bargain contracts in this team. Because
depending on what year Julius is in.
I'll tell you what, if RJ is playing like this though, that is a bargain contract. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it's wild how his strengths and they're adding up now and they're starting to get more and more. We've always talked about how like, oh, he's got like a little bit of Brunson and a little bit of Randall, but he's not quite as good at either the things they're really good at. But now this year he's kind of like, he's gotten like, obviously, or not obviously, but I'm not ready to say he's better than them, but he's been better than them for 8 games or whatever. And I guess what's interesting about it is if you have RJ on this deal and if this is real, even you knock his 3-point shooting down to 37, 38%. And like Sam said earlier, a guy who shoots free throws this good is like, it's really hard to shoot free throws this good and be a bad shooter. So it's not crazy. By the way, shout out to the dude who is always in my mentions when I tried to be optimistic about RJ, who told me, he said this offseason, and he probably would never watch this, so who cares? He said, asking RJ to be a 33% 3-point shooter is the same thing as asking Shaq to be league average from 3. He said that this offseason, and he was like calling me delusional for saying that. I
know exactly who it is. He has like a Giants fan, the Helmet Avi, right? Yeah, that guy only shows up in my mentions to yell at me about like saying anything positive about RJ, which is surprising because actually
because you hate RJ.
Yeah, I hate RJ. I never said anything positive.
I'm the same. It's so funny. It's so funny that you say that. I'm exactly the same. I have the same people always popping up being like, you're this RJ homer. And it's like, I don't think so because the RJ fans hate me too. Like, I think I'm doing something right if you all hate me. Like, I think I'm just saying what is happening. But anyways, if some version of this, even if like this RJ impact is like 90% real, it makes the next contract for Julius Randle very interesting.
And we will be
and we'll cross that road when we get there. Exactly. Cross that bridge.
Tune in to some of our other podcasts where we may discuss that.
Well, I think that leaves us in a good place to end. Shout out to everyone that tuned in. We'll be back on Sunday. That's the next game versus the Hornets, right? Yeah. Sunday versus the Hornets.
That'll be an interesting post game, middle of fucking the 1 p.m. slate
of NFL. Just breaking down some basketball.
Yeah, Sam won't even be focused. He'll have like 6 parlays going on.
That probably will be the case. But yeah, make sure you guys tune in. Check out all the links in the description. We got links to the site, Patreon, where you can catch Con and Jeff's show, Strictly NFL, as well as Schwinn's show, Strick and Roll, as well as many other shows and content as well. Make sure you guys check out the links to the merch. Jeff and Schwinn are both rocking some Strickland merch, so make sure you guys check that out, and make sure you're following us on Twitter. Leave a like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys on Sunday. Peace.